Hey, Wonderhussy here, and welcome to another Story of America. That's right, I'm out here rolling around my favorite place, the middle of nowhere, Nevada, and I'm in this beautiful but extremely desolate high desert valley. I don't know if you can tell, but there's actually grass. There's a hot spring in the area, which is what brought me here. I'm headed to this hot spring. But there's a little herd of wild horses grazing there. There's a really big herd of wild horses grazing over there. There was cattle grazing a little bit farther back. Just a beautiful picture of bucolic Americana. Right? Wrong. There I was, cruising through this beautiful valley, headed to a hot spring, when I stumbled on an old abandoned building. And you know how I love poking through abandoned buildings. Now I know some of you think these videos are boring, where I'm sifting through old stuff, but trust me, this right here is pretty interesting. I went in and scoped it out ahead of time to see if it was worth stopping for, and the story that this place tells is a real American tragedy. And it's even more of a tragedy when you consider the beautiful setting that this story took place in. Come with me and I'll show you what I'm talking about. Now, when I first came inside this building, I see that it's an old, it was like some kind of abandoned power plant or something, so I thought, oh, that's not too interesting. But then I noticed that, well, there's a lot of junk strewn about on the floor. And so I thought, well, let me just see if there's anything Oh, little prairie dress. That's kind of sad. And then, oh, a lady's makeup mirror. Gosh, that's kind of sad. Then I started sifting through the mail and I see Battle Mountain General Hospital, outline of coverage, major medical expense policy, a past due bill from Sparks Pathology, and a collections notice from Reno Radiological Associates. Okay, for once in my life, I actually put a mask on because there's so much rat poo in here and I don't want to get sick. But oh my God, this is the saddest story I've ever put together just from looking through stuff I found in an abandoned building. Okay, so there's also a bunch of canceled checks here. And I'm going to go ahead and show you the names on the checks because they're dated from the 80s. I'm guessing these people, well, at least one of them is not alive anymore. Looks like it was a couple, Jerry and Deborah Kelly, that ran this DJ Ranch in Jersey Valley. And unfortunately, it looks like Jerry had some kind of cancer. I mean, here's I guess this is like a itemized bill from some oncologist in Reno. Please remit $207.60 per insurance. Thank you, Cheryl. Now here's his cheap-ass insurance company, Country Companies, which, if you remember, we saw this earlier, their outline of coverage for major medical expenses, which apparently isn't much, because look here, prostate cancer screening test is not covered. What kind of insurance company doesn't cover a prostate cancer screening test? I mean, that's like the very definition of cold-blooded usury. I mean, this guy, this rancher, Jerry, what is his name? Jerry Kelly? I'm guessing he paid his premiums every month, and then, well, it looks like he ended up getting prostate cancer, and, well, it looks to me like he went bankrupt because of his medical bills, and, well, all his stuff ended up getting dumped in this old abandoned building out in the middle of this beautiful valley where he once lived and ranched. You know what I mean? It's like, I don't know where their farmhouse was or their ranch house, but somehow all their personal items, or many of their personal items, ended up getting dumped in this old electrical station. This dress, I mean, it looks like it's a kid's dress, not an adult woman's dress, so I don't think that belonged to Deborah. But maybe they had a daughter, you know? Really sad. That looks like it was homemade, too. Deborah probably sewed that. Oh, God, this is just terrible. Oh, no, look. Even his prescription receipts are here. This is just terrible. You know, like I'm guessing that was Deborah's makeup mirror. Backrest comfort pad. Who knows? That could have belonged to either of them. This just makes me sick. Now, for those of you watching from a different country, pretty much any other country, here in the United States of America, one of the richest countries on the face of the earth, if not the richest country in the history of the planet, we don't have socialized medicine or single-payer healthcare. No, we have this weird cockamamie system where you have to buy insurance and pay a certain amount every month, and then, well, when it comes time and you need it, then they don't cover anything you need, and so you end up getting bankrupted. I mean, that's it in a nutshell. And I know I try not to get political in my videos, but this is one subject that just really cheeses me off. I do not, for the life of me, understand why we have this entire insurance industry. You know, like, I'd rather just pay the doctor direct, cut out the middleman. All these people like Cheryl that sent the friendly little bill for $200. You know, now we don't have to pay their salaries. We don't have to pay for all this friggin' paperwork, all this wasted effort and ink. And we don't have to bankrupt some poor rancher when he gets sick. You know what I mean? Like, it's all well and good if you work for some big company and you have a employer-sponsored healthcare. But if you're a rancher, you know, independent contractor like me working for yourself, you got to buy your own insurance. Look at this Beef magazine. Aw, and it was him. Jerry Kelly. He was subscribed to Beef magazine. He must have been a cattle rancher. I am kind of interested in this Beef magazine. Never heard of this. Wow. But I'm not here to talk about beef. I'm here to talk about my beef with our screwed up health insurance system. Let's see what more sad artifacts of this poor guy's story we can find. Canceled checks. Old phone bills from back in the day when you had a landline. Just hospital bill after hospital bill after pharmacy bill after explanation of benefits, which is probably more like an explanation of why we're denying your benefits. Let's go over on this side and see if we can find any more clues to this heartbreaking story. Man, I bet this guy's life out here was awesome, though, before he got sick, because it is beautiful country. Couple hot springs in this valley. All this wildlife. It's just gorgeous. This looks more like work stuff. All the personal stuff was in that corner. Oh, look, an old TV. Oh, it's one of those TVs I love in the cabinet. So sad, though. Oh, look. An old cowboy hat box when he went and bought a new cowboy hat. That was a nice hat, too. Oh, man. Oh, no, how about this? This must have been when the wife would weigh herself, you know, to check how she was doing. I don't know if that's right. Or maybe it is. It's about what I weigh. So sad. Man, that TV just says it all. Broken screens and broken dreams. The Deborah Kelly story. Suppose it could be the Jerry Kelly story, too. The Deborah and Jerry Kelly story. God, next thing you know, the ranch probably got repossessed, you know? Wouldn't be surprised. All them outstanding medical bills. You don't get cancer in America and not pay for it with your ranch. I mean, there's just boxes and boxes of canceled checks. This is just heartbreaking. What's this? Oh gosh, a circus mug. Winner. Congratulations! You won some crummy jackpot and a free steak dinner, but meanwhile you got cancer and it bankrupted you. God, we're so easily distracted in this country with bread and circuses. They keep us distracted from the real issues because, well, you know how it is. More and more paperwork, more and more canceled checks. Looks like some kind of blueprints in here. Maybe he was planning an expansion before he got sick. Just terrible. Ugh, I gotta get out of here so I can take this mask off. It's hot. It's like 90 degrees. Ugh. But I don't know. I just wanted to stop in there and show you guys that stuff because, man, I just thought it was so sad. And again, I don't want to like get up on a soapbox and be annoying, but it's just really sad that in this beautiful country with all that we have and all the money that we have, we can't take care of our own citizens better. You know, it just blows my mind. I don't think there's anything communist or un-American or unpatriotic about having quality and affordable health care for everyone. But gosh, you say that in some quarters and they look at you like you're friggin' Fidel Castro, you know? It blows my mind. And what really blows my mind is, you know, I have a lot of Canadian viewers and Canadian friends, and without exception, they all love their healthcare system. But I also have a lot of American friends and American viewers, or I should say a few American friends, who will argue to their death about No, they don't. They hate their system. It's terrible. It's like, well, you're not from Canada. I mean, how do you know? I mean, I'm thinking of one guy in particular. I'm not going to say his name, but he's a Facebook friend of mine. And if I post anything about healthcare, he will just start in about how terrible the Canadian healthcare system is and how you got to wait for anything and they have death panels and this and that. And then I have all these Canadian friends that'll like comment on the thread and try to argue with him. Even though they live in Canada and they directly experience the system, he knows better than them. And I actually read a really interesting article recently. There was this whistleblower guy who used to work, he was an executive for one of the big pharmaceutical companies back in the late 90s, early 2000s. He was originally like a poor guy from Appalachia. I think he was from like West Virginia, but he made good, he was smart, he went to school, he got good grades, and ended up being this executive for this big pharmaceutical company like Pfizer, I think, one of the really big ones. Well, he happened to be home visiting for the holidays. You know, like he went back to, I can't remember if it was Kentucky or West Virginia where he was from. Anyway, he went home for the holidays, and it happened to be at the same time that they were doing one of those rural healthcare clinics where doctors come to these rural areas where there's no hospital, and all the friggin' hill folk come down out of the hills, anyone who's sick and needs help, and they give them free healthcare. And this guy, this healthcare executive, happened to see that, and he said it just blew his mind and opened his eyes to what was going on. Like, there's all these poor folk who in many instances worked their entire lives, and now they're sick and busted and they don't have healthcare and they're dying of easily preventable diseases. And yeah, I understand some of that, a lot of that is due to personal choices, you know, like the things you eat and drink and if you smoke and whatever. But a lot of that is just cold-bloodedness on the part of, well, I was going to say on the part of their employers, but I don't understand why healthcare is linked to employment in the first place. And it'll be really interesting to see how that plays out in this COVID-19 situation that's going on, because a lot of people now are out of work, which means they don't have health insurance. And if they get sick, well, boy, howdy, it's going to be ugly. And that's a big reason why I always wear this friggin' mask when I'm around other people, because I'm not exaggerating at all, but you guys are probably going to think I'm being a worrywart, but gosh, it's like one of my biggest fears that if I get cancer or I get COVID or I end up in the ICU for a few days, I could very easily lose everything I've worked my entire life for because my friggin' insurance will bill me to death. That's just the way it is here. But anyway, back to the guy who worked for Pfizer. He went home to Kentucky. He saw that big rural healthcare clinic, and it kind of opened his eyes, and he realized that, well, what his job was immoral, and so he quit working for the healthcare company, and he became like a whistleblower, and I don't know if he wrote a book or he writes articles and does talks and stuff all about how messed up the American healthcare industry is, or at least the pharmaceutical part of it is. Like, for instance, he says they ran, well, at least when he worked for them, they ran a deliberate propaganda campaign. This American pharmaceutical company ran a deliberate propaganda campaign to convince Americans that Canadian healthcare was ineffective and shoddy. Okay, I mean, this is just this guy's account, but I don't know, you can look him up online. I don't remember his name, but I don't know, it was pretty well documented, everything that he wrote. And, well, basically, yeah, he said they want you to think that the Canadian system sucks so that you keep ginning for the old American system because it's the patriotic way. Mom and apple pie and baseball and bankruptcy. What's so American about that? It just blows my mind. Anyway, I don't mean to be a downer. I'm just traveling through trying to go to a hot spring and have a good day. But golly, sifting through that stuff in there just kind of broke my heart, you know? I love my country, obviously. I mean, I'm always wearing these sunglasses. But I feel like we can do better. You know, you can still love your country and see that there's room for improvement. So, I don't know. I guess I'm just going to continue on my way, drive to this hot spring and camp out and, well, try not to get cancer or run into any other kind of misfortune that might require me to be taken to a hospital and billed to death. See you next time.